Welcome back, friends. Happy winter officially. We're going to do our pool for Tuesday and see what's up. The energy's a bit spicy, snappy today, so let's just get into it and begin like we always do by taking 3 intentional breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth, breathing in and breathing out. Two more times, breathing in and breathing out. And last time, breathing in and breathing out. Hmm. Yes, the energy is lively today, so I'm excited to see what's up. And if you're new here, hello, my name is Ross. I post videos every Tuesday and Thursday of readings for the collective. And if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. Let's see what the cards have to say today. So those folks that are turning in here, we're going to do those chunks. Okay. See, I told you the energy's spicy. What's it giving us? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I feel like maybe we can look at this as the upcoming week. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. So let's play with that. Let's just get these here a little bit more organized. You got to have your cards nicely organized. So yeah, and instead of saying this is Sunday and etc., we'll start with the day you find this card. Like I say, I post these every Tuesday and Thursday, so maybe you're finding this on Tuesday, or maybe you're finding this sometime in the future on another day. But the energy, the message will be relevant whenever you find it. So the energy of the day, and the next 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 day, onward and onward. And we'll see if there's some kind of journey or story happening. Death reversed. Death isn't necessarily dying, it's a card of transformation. And more importantly, more specifically, it's that moment that you decide, all right, I'm done drinking, I'm done going out and partying. To use an example, not that there's anything wrong with partying, I used to be quite the dance floor goblin back in the day, but at a certain point, it's just nicer to sleep, if we're being honest. But this is the card of transformation when it's upright. Now, it was reversed, so that's just telling me that there is some change that you are resisting making, something that you need to do, but you're putting it off, whether because of fear, whether because of societal pressures, um, maybe it's that old story of it being time to settle down or time to have kids, and that's not something that you're interested in, and the resistance to that. Or I had another example, but whatever it is, it's something that needs to change, but you're resisting, whether it's, yeah, fear of what people will think, or just, oh, I've done this so many years, I've done this for so long. What does my life look like if I'm not going out and dancing and all of that? And if that is you, then I just have to tell you there are wonderful alternatives. There are sober celebrations happening in every town in, probably the world. Ecstatic dance, 5 rhythms, mindful movement. There are other ways to move your body without alcohol and outside of a clubby atmosphere. If this is where you are today, there's a change that you need to make, but you are resisting, you are blocking, or there might be something blocking you from making that change. But that's where we start. And then as the week progresses, we see, yeah, and The Three of Cups upright is all about celebration, a bountiful harvest. We just transitioned from autumn, the time of harvest, into winter, the time of going within and resting and taking our cues from nature, from all the death around us, and allowing ourselves to be still. It was reversed, though. The Three of Cups was reversed. And so this is telling me like the idea of community celebration. It's three women here. So the idea of sisterhood is relevant, but also the idea of community at large. Whatever it is, whatever that change is that you're unwilling or unable to make, it's blocking that flow of community, of celebration, of joy. I hope as we continue that some of these are upright and it shows a shift in that energy of those choices. And this feels like a relevant time to say this. This isn't saying that this is definitely what's going to happen. This is one of millions and millions and millions and millions of possibilities. Now that you are getting this information, you can choose differently because you have control. The chariot is all about control, about willpower, about, yeah, being in charge of your own life, being in charge of your own destiny. And that's not to say that there isn't a higher power of your understanding that is guiding and walking with you. But as Katie Rubin, one of my teachers, used to say, God is too much of a gentleman to put himself upon you. So that support is there, that guidance is there, and however you define your creator, they want you to be happy, they want you to experience all of the joy that is available to you, but you have free will. This is a card of that choice point after the resistance to transformation and the blockages of community. How are you going to respond to that? You've got this eagle's eye perspective now. You're a wise person, otherwise, you wouldn't be here. You're already doing the work. You have an awareness of your awareness. So now it's time to get in the chariot and drive the vehicle that is you. Hmm. The magician, really another card of transformation, of taking that step to draw in that power from the heavens and conduct it into the earth. We can kind of see the magician, or as my one friend called him, the staying alive guy, kind of doing that disco kind of thing. But what it actually is the magician acting as a lightning rod, calling in the power of God, so to speak, and grounding it here in the plane of the material, in the 3D reality. It is blocked though. And since this did come right after the chariot, I am interpreting that as going too far in one direction, as finding that balance between surrender and control. And it's a tricky one. I'm not going to say it's easy. And I keep learning more and more places where I can surrender every day, every hour. I'm sure I'll come into contact with that as soon as this video ends, or even while I'm recording it. So this is the idea of, the magician reversed is this idea of you blocking your own power, or a better way of saying that is your ego is blocking the Christ consciousness from coming through you. It's a busy week for you. The moon. And this is all about the idea also of, hang on, there's a bunch of things coming through here. So, like I said, we're in winter now. It's that time of going inward, and the moon only comes out at night when a large portion of the earth is asleep. And it's that idea of what is revealed in the moonlight, what can only come out in the darkness. And this is representative of intuition and those deep inner stirrings of something that is beyond you, or I hesitate to say beneath you, but in the sense of, excuse me, confirmation burp. There it is, unassailable support beneath us. And again, we have this idea of duality of the dog and the wolf. One is a domesticated kind of expression of that energy, and one is more of a wild, untamed thing. And if you're, going back to the clubbing example, like going out and dancing, not clubbing animals, but the idea of how do I reconcile these two parts of me? And the invitation is to turn to the lobster crawling out of the water, the deep unconscious, uh, collective unconscious that we all share, and trusting that there is something unseen that can only be seen, so to speak, in the moonlight, in the darkness, in that time that we're in of going inward, of withdrawal, not in the sense of defeat. I was going to say withdrawal or retreat, but not in the sense of defeat, but in the sense of figuring out where you're being in control too much, where you're being in the ego, and where that is blocking your magician so that you can allow that magic to start flowing again. Ooh, judgment. And with that comes this idea of when you're looking at your life, it's that idea of choosing what is worthy of going on the rest of the journey with you and what isn't. And looking at it not in any kind of judgmental way as far as passing guilt or anything like that, but just deciding that okay, that was relevant at a certain time, and I loved it while I was going out and dancing and grinding up on some strange, that was a great time, but I'm beyond that now. I don't require that anymore. I love that version of me. I wish them nothing but peace and love and happiness, but it's time to transcend that. It's time to move beyond that. And I'm reminded of that quote, I think it's from the Bible. It goes something like, when I was a child, I played with toys and did childish things. But when I grew up, I became an adult and I put the ways of children behind me. And that's always going to come, like the idea of the angel here blowing their trumpet and heralding uh, the souls back. And it's interesting that we've got these characters in what we could say are coffins, and we started with the death card. And it's that idea of almost a resurrection from who you were into who you've always been underneath the egoic identity and all the control. And then lastly, wrapping this all up, six of that's six, yeah. Six of Swords in reversed. And it's very similar to the reading I gave for the solstice, which you can watch in the playlist. And I'll try to link it somewhere right around here. Um, what with the upside down, upright, it's this idea of light and dark and light again, ebbing and flowing, the tide's always changing. And you might find yourself going through this, deciding, all right, I've made the choice, I'm welcoming in joy, I'm balancing egoic control with intuitive or godly surrender. And then you find yourself kind of stuck again, or in a way where it doesn't feel like things are moving. And that is frustrating. And I don't wish that on anyone, but I do want to share that even though that seems to be what's happening, there is still movement happening. And we can even think of the winter season that we're in. I mentioned this at the top of the video. Everything in nature seems like it's stopped. The trees have dropped their leaves, the animals are hibernating. Everything around us seems to slow in nature. I mean, capitalism has really screwed the pooch, so to speak. Not this pooch. um, But what's happening is those trees are drawing nutrients from the earth. They're drawing from the inner earth that uh, support that I was talking about, that unassailable groundedness that is supporting the trees and giving the animals hibernating their shelter. That same support is available to you in this moment and all moments going forward. So I offer that with the acknowledgement that yes, it can seem like things are topsy turvy. It can seem like things are out of control. But I promise you, underneath all of that, there is an order to what is happening, a divine order, a support that is so, so sacred and specific to you that once you realize it's there, and again, it's a challenge for sure, especially depending on how swayed by the chariot you still are. But once you're able to surrender, even a skosh. What's the another Bible phrase? If faith as small as a mustard seed. Have you ever seen how small a mustard seed is? It's smaller than this. I don't have anything that small to show you, but if you can just believe that the support is there for the transitions that you're going through, then easement can come. And I can think of no better way to offer you some additional easement for this reading because it looks like it's going to be a pretty transformative week, a lot of ups and downs. And I say week, but we think of the creation story of God creating the world in 7 days. Even though I said this is the day you find this and so on, this could be whole seasons. This could be 7 years. This could be, the 7 hours of a day. It could be something that plays out over the next season. So take what resonates, but with regards to any advice or assistance or balm to anything that feels unsupported, let's see what the wisdom of Hafiz says. And I explained this in the, there it is. I explained this in the solstice video, but in Iran, there is a tradition called Yalda Night where folks gather in the house of an elder and they sit around and eat pomegranates and tasty foods. And they read from a book of Hafiz's poetry. Hafiz was a poet, a Sufi poet in ancient Persia around the 1500s. And this tradition of Yalda Night is when folks gather and read from a book of poetry and treat it as a divinatory tool and getting some kind of insight from a line in a poem or something like that. So today we've got offer up gratitude, number 5. 5 might also be relevant for you. I don't see any other 5s here on the table, but wanted to share that. And then let's see what lovely, lovely words Hafiz has for us today. I hope you can see that. The sun is kind of bright today, but it's nice. It's a lovely day. Offer up gratitude. I like when the dawn or a tree so touches my heart, my eyes fill with tears and thanks. Whatever is going on right now, give thanks for it, even if it's a crisis that's stripped your heart bare. You can't see it now, but it's happening for you. You've survived, 100% of all your blessings and traumas to date. And all of them have created a unique force field that wouldn't exist without your journey. And gratitude expands that force field. Excuse me, confirmation birth. Use it to manifest a life of wonder. And that was the missing part as far as what I was saying about, this could look like a tumultuous, traumatic week, but gratitude is something that we can always offer or is always available to us in those moments. And I'm not going to be a person that says, you know, always try to see the best in things. Sometimes a situation sucks, and that's not to discredit your experience or downplay any of the terrible traumas that are going on in your life or have happened in the past. But for a certain person, and if you found this, you might be one of those people, there is a hindsight, an eagle's eye perspective where you can see some sliver of usefulness in that experience and something to be grateful for and something that I'm reconciling within my own journey with the idea of gratitude is how when we are given something, whether it's a meal or a warm blanket or just the sun on our face, it makes our experience easier or at the very least better. It lightens us. And that kind of goes back to something I was saying about that creator, that support is always there for you. They want to give you all of these things, but if you're blocking them, then where do they go? Gratitude is the acknowledgement that you're walking step in step with your creator and that you're receiving their guidance, their blessings, their support, and acknowledging that it is making your experience better and the experience as a whole better. What did the book say about a force field and the gratitude expanding that? So expand your force field today, friends. Go out into the world and say thank you to someone who holds a door open for you, or say thank you to a mailman, mail carrier for delivering the mail. Offer up gratitude for those seemingly insignificant things in your life and just watch how much more of that support comes in. And that feels complete. It's going to be a busy week for you, my friends. So I wish you nothing but peace, love, and happiness from this day forward and from this week forward. Take care.